So you spent $400 to $600 on a brand new Steam Deck and you don't have any money for any brand new games on Steam? Well, fear not. Here's a PC Master Race secret. You can buy Steam keys, you can buy Steam copies of games on external websites, and at times they can be cheaper than buying it on Steam itself. So as any PC gamer knows, Steam is the place to own all your games on for a multitude of reasons. Steam versions of games tend to be better due to support for things like Steam Input, Steam Workshop, free cloud saves, etc, etc. That said, sometimes games can be expensive outside of, Steam sales. Like $60 for a brand new game? That's expensive for some people, right? I mean, that's the industry norm, but here's a little secret. You can actually get new games cheaper on different websites. Did I mention that? The most obvious and the easiest way to get Steam games is, well, of course, going on Steam and buying the games directly from Valve. You can even buy multiple versions if you want. You can also buy all of the DLC if you really want. Look there's a standard edition right there, and there's a deluxe edition right there. And depending on if the game has a ton of DLC, you can pick and choose to buy what DLCs you want. You can even buy characters that you claim you'll play, but you'll actually never touch. You know how it is. Another fairly obvious way is to go on the developer or publisher's website to buy Steam keys directly. In the case of 505 Games, the publishers of Bloodstained, they actually have 3 links here. They have a GOG link, as well as a Steam page link, and then they have this curious 505 Games for Steam link right here. Right there, you can click on that, and then you can pay directly and get a Steam key. Valve doesn't even get a cut. The main problem with this method is that oftentimes games don't really go on sale on developers' websites. The only real stipulation that Valve has is that these devs don't set the base price of the product to be less than what it is on Steam. What this means is that on a dev website, they don't need to partake in a Steam sale if they don't want. As a result, it's almost never worth it to buy it directly from a dev. Here's where things get really exciting though. There are third-party websites that sell legit Steam keys. Oftentimes their sales will coincide with Valve's own sales. Sometimes they'll host their own sales independent of Valve's sales schedule. Sometimes you'll get discounts that you missed on Valve's own website, and sometimes you'll get an even lower price than on Steam. The problem is there are so many websites of this kind out there. It can be difficult to keep track of. It can also be difficult to keep track of what websites sell what region keys, as keys are region locked sometimes. That's why we have this little website right here. Is There Any Deal? Is There Any Deal is a sales aggregate website that aggregates sales from all sorts of different legit key resellers. Keep in mind that Is There Any Deal doesn't actually sell their own keys, but rather gathers data from all sorts of different websites, currently running sales as well as historical lows for games as well. Being able to compare prices like this makes it really easy to see which websites offer the cheapest keys. Keep in mind there is not one single website that dominates in this aspect. If you're so adventurous, you'll often find that they also include sales for storefronts that don't provide Steam keys, such as GOG or Epic Games. That said, if you don't care about the storefront, then you can buy it on those instead, as it'll be cheaper. The issue with this though is that obviously it's not on Steam, and as such, it'll be more difficult to play those games on Steam. Even with my tutorials, it's just way easier to buy a Steam copy, so if you can do that, it's easier to play a Steam copy on your deck. So just do yourself a favor and stick to Steam copies of games, and then you'll be okay. Also, Steam copies tend to have better features. So let's look at a game. Let's look at Dark Souls 3, which I believe is only on Steam. So as you can see here, you can buy a UK copy, and the lowest it's ever been is $7.44, which is kind of crazy if you really think about it. Dark Souls was sold at $60 originally, keep that in mind. It's a bit of an older game at this point, but it's still really good. Do play it. As you can see here, all of these are Steam keys. Oh, it seems like I was wrong about the first one being the lowest. The lowest Dark Souls 3 has ever been was on the Indie Gala store. Or is it Indie Gaia store? I don't really know. Is there any hope of it going down that low in price ever again? Who knows? However, right now, the current lowest is Games Planet UK, and that's a UK copy of the game. I'm not sure if that works in North America. But the cheapest North American key is only about $1 more. You get the idea here. Use the website, compare prices, buy from that website, claim the Steam key, and it's yours. Perhaps you want to look at Steam reviews while you're also looking at the sales on different websites. Perhaps you want to look at some other stuff on Steam too. Who knows? Maybe you want to do this while you're doing the discovery queue. Well, there's an extension for that. It's available on Firefox, in Chromium-based browsers, as well as Microsoft Edge. The extension is called Augmented Steam, and it's maintained by the Is There Any Deal team. Augmented Steam brings the power of Is There Any Deal straight to Steam's website. It's totally safe to use, and I use it all the time. There is one caveat in that you can't actually use this on the main Steam app itself. It's also on any OS or platform that has any of the aforementioned browsers. I also assume this means you can't use this on the Steam Deck's interface itself, which would be super cool, but I can totally understand why Valve wouldn't allow any extensions, period. It doesn't change very much about Steam's website, aside from the fact that you can now see what the current best and what the historical best sales were for a particular game. There's even hyperlinks to those websites that currently have the best sales going on if you really want to. Just be sure to use PayPal, just in case anything happens. Now we're going to talk about some morally gray areas. More specifically, gray market key resellers. These aren't listed on Is There Any Deals database because, quite frankly, it would be impossible to do so. So websites like this, like Kinguin or G2A in this case, their main business is letting you sell your own keys to other people. They take a cut of it. That in and of itself isn't really bad. It's not even really remotely illegal. The issue then comes from when people start using stolen credit cards to buy Steam keys, dump them all on these websites, and then someone buys it, and then eventually someone finds out about these transactions. They do a chargeback on their credit card, and then eventually, well, you know, the Steam keys get revoked. You lose access to that game that you just bought on G2A. It's known to happen, and it's happened countless amount of times. You'll have to scour the website yourself for some sort of deals for games. And these prices do look very tempting, but proceed at your own risk. I'm not responsible if you lose a Steam key. You know there's a serious issue when developers would rather have you pirate their games rather than just, well, you know, buy it on G2A. And that's because chargebacks hurt them. You may get lucky with a few keys from G2A, as I have in the past. It's just not a good idea to buy keys from these websites. You cannot forget the all-important Steam sales. Valve tends to host these incredible seasonal sales that break records. These sales pioneered the idea that PC gaming was actually cheaper than console gaming, because historically speaking, the sales were always amazing. You'd get games for literally dollars. So why don't you go ahead and save yourself a couple of bucks so that you can spend some money at the Steam sales. No, Valve isn't gonna just suddenly run out of Steam keys to give to people, but you may miss out on some incredible deals if you don't keep your eyes peeled.